Howdy guys, welcome to Should Be Right Garage. At a bit of a different location today. We're doing a bit of a will it start video. We're working on a very flamed and hot F100. Purchased it off my brother. Now the recent news is that the shed that we're using for storage is now up for sale by the landlord. We need to start getting some money together to look at purchasing something ourselves. So from the get-go, this truck is going to be something that we're cleaning up and fixing up and getting straight on the market. So without further ado, let's get involved. And just quickly guys, we've now got some merch available if you want to help support the channel. We've got them in 3 different colours and a whole bunch of sizes, and they're available for 45 bucks delivered anywhere in Australia. And of course these are in conjunction with our other methods of support, including our PayPal account if you wish to donate directly, and of course our Will It Start content. We're always looking for new vehicles to get up and running. So make sure you check out our links in the description for all the details, and if you send us through a photo of you wearing our merch, we'll chuck that up in one of our videos as well. Back to our main content. And here it is. This poor old girl's been sitting for a while. I think 85 or 86. Looking pretty rough. Comes with a bunch of parts that I sold my brother a while ago. Now he'll be able to explain a little bit more what's happened, but basically this truck's been sitting for I think close to 13 years. He will clarify for me. It was being driven one day and it got a cooked radiator. So he shut it down once it overheated, and it's pretty much been apart ever since. So you can see there's a bit of rust here that we're going to have to deal with. The motor hasn't been touched in a long time. We've got some fluids that we need to go through. It's pretty much been sinking into the ground here. So we're going to have a bit of fun getting this out, but my hot tip is it's going to run alright. It's had a bit of accident damage here. But hey look, it is a Ford, it is pig iron. I reckon she'll be good to go. Certainly been a while. Quick reveal, does show that it has some oils, a little bit low. Certainly not going to stop it from starting. So both motor and gearbox are alright for now. Power steering's empty. Most importantly though, motor's still turning over. So I think we'll get this radiator in. I did bring a spare, and then check a few more items before trying to fire him up. So we're going to need a new thermostat housing, but she should still hold water for now, at least long enough to get it home, if we can secure ourselves a UVP and get this thing running. Righto, so I think we're ready to turn it over. Steve, what's the deal with this truck, mate? How long has it been sitting?
It's probably been sitting since about 2011, 2012. Basically, I've had the truck since I think the mid-90s. I actually bought it originally for my Jeep Renegade that I restored, which you'll get to see in a future episode, I'm sure. But basically, I bought the F100 back in the late 90s. Michael helped me do a little bit of a resto on it, which is the flame job.
Used to be baby blue, didn't it?
Yeah, it was like a powder blue. I think it might have been ex-police force. Yeah, so driving along through the Gore Hill freeway, I noticed that the vehicle started to pink, and then it just suddenly stopped dead right on the freeway. As it turned out, all of the water had come out of the radiator hose. Actually, the radiator had burst permanently. So essentially I didn't know there was a temperature change, because if there isn't any water you can't measure the temperature, right? So had it towed home, and it's been a non-runner ever since. So at about that time I was getting into motorbikes, and I pretty much rode motorbikes for about 6 or 7 years until I got my first car again. So here it is. Mike was trying to revive it because he wants to breathe new life into it, so fingers crossed.
Alright, well on that note, we'll chuck a battery in and see if she still turns over, eh?
Fingers crossed.
Indicators and stuff. Nothing from the starter. Doesn't even sound like the starter's trying to click over yet. There we go. She does turn over. Just got to sort out this wiring. Beautiful. Let's see if she gets some life. After swapping out a relay that was faulty. Chuck a bit of fuel down. There we are, we got some life. Now it's time to get it road ready. Got a bit of a leak here. Try and keep going. Look at that. Off it goes, guys. We're going to have to run these pipes back together before we run him full time. Also chuck a bit of fuel in these tanks now, get these fuel pumps operational, try and get him up and running 100%. Now we've got 2 tanks on the F truck. Probably can't see it too well, but this thing's flopping around and not connected. So we're going to have to fill up from the rear. Good thing we checked that. Oh, it's a putrid smell coming out of here. It's been a long time. Yeah, smells like boot polish. Hopefully these lines aren't gummed up. Let's find out. Fuel pump connected and running. Don't know if we're starting to squirt yet or not. Let's chuck a bit more fuel down the throat and see if we can get anything out of it. After a lot of mucking around, diagnosing and testing, check this out guys, turns out that the in-tank fuel pump is not working, and this is the reason why. It is absolutely putrid. We're going to have to go back to home base, try and get this operational. If we can't, which is most likely that we can't, we're going to have to get a replacement pump. But all this scale and crap is in the fuel tank, so when we come back we're going to have to drain it and flush him out and try again. So back at it during some daylight hours. We're about to pull this fuel tank out, we've got the sender at home, we've got a brand new fuel pump on the way. We're going to take this tank out, empty it, take it home for a clean as well, some white vinegar. Pop this out of the way so I can get a bit of access, and found another issue. So I'll take a bit of a look at these tail lights. They're not looking too healthy. They're attached to this little bracket here, and since they're all rotten, we've got to fit a new set of tail lights and indicators before we try to drive this away. Anyhow, time to get under there, pop this tank. Have a look in there at the scale and varnish build-up. Just as well, we're pulling this out now, so that probably would have blocked up on the way home, even if the pump did work for the moment. Back to home base. We've got a pretty empty tank now. We'll start with our chemicals. We'll be using the methylated spirits first up. That should get rid of any of the varnish. If we find that there's some rust left over, a bit of white vinegar will take care of that. And the result after a couple of days draining it out, it's a marked improvement, but there's still a lot of crud there, so we're going to put a bit more fresh metho in there and some soft edge little pebbles. That'll help agitate it up and get rid of some of these loose bits. You can also use a chain, but for now these pebbles will do, and we can get rid of them with a vacuum cleaner when it's done. Now a couple of days later, with a bit of agitation with the rocks, we're looking a hell of a lot cleaner. Happy days, we've cleaned him all out and dried him out. So a bit of the old Ranax Rust Buster will take care of any surface, and then we're good to fit it back in. And of course, while we were doing the fuel tank, we did not ignore the fuel sender. We did dip it in vinegar to clean up all the surface rust, and we've given it some metal prep. We have a brand new fuel pump and pre-filter, as well as a float, and so now we're good to go. Happy days. Now with a new bit of fuel filler hose, we can fit this tank to the truck and see if we can get some life. Okay, prime fuel system. And we got ourselves some pretty nasty splits there, so that's going to have to be shortened and replaced, and we'll get a new one before we try to drive it properly. Plenty of fuel. Look at that. He's a runner. Got some very suspect fuel hoses here. They'll have to be replaced, but we know she's running. You bloody beauty. Try and get some oil in this transmission, I think, and see if we can shift him. Can you do me a favour? Sit inside the truck with your foot on the brakes. This gearbox hasn't been in gear for a long time. I don't want it to suddenly lurch forward even though it's in park. Whoa, stop, stop. We've got a busted brake line. That's alright. Hit those brakes one more time. Alright, busted brake line. Okay, that's got to be fixed as well. We've got a leaking brake system, so we've got to be quick if we're going to check if this is going into gear. There we are, as you would have just noticed, guys. I couldn't actually get it out of park. The selector lever's all jammed up. I suspect that may actually be the cable. These are not mechanically driven, they're cable driven. And I think this part here may need a bit of lube. So I'll have to sort him out. We're definitely not driving it properly today anyhow. So we'll sort out this cable and then I think we'll work out a replacement brake line. But overall, I think this truck's going to be all right. Happy days. That's our cable. That settles it. And it's back to home base with these two. So we're back at home base now. We've got some brand new brake line off of the roll. So the way we're going to replicate this is we're going to put it alongside the original. We're going to use some cable ties just to keep it together. Basically match them and run them all along the same way. And then we're going to cut the ends off. And we're going to use our flaring tool and reuse these ends. Now moving on to the flare itself, we've got a lovely old vintage flaring tool here, and it gets done in two pieces. So we start off with this, and we have about 3mm sticking out from the top. We then come along with this piece, and as we push it down within the tool, it will cause two edges to bow out, and once they're bowed out, we then swap around with our pointy tip and we come along from above, and that will actually create a double flare, and that will make it factory correct and strong enough. We can take a close look at the amount of steel sticking out when we start. And we're now creating a bow. And it's now time to finalise the flare. Check that out for a result. And that now gives us factory correct brake line. Let's see if we can get some love out of this cable. Now after a bit of lube, this cable's freed itself up. We're good to go back to the truck. Beautiful. Well, back to a solid brake pedal and a shifter linkage that works now. Hopefully this is it. Bloody beautiful. And now that we're convinced the truck will probably handle the 30 or 40 minute drive back to home, we've got a few precautionary items that we're going to have to fit before we make that journey. So we picked up a replacement fuel filter and some fuel hose. We've got ourselves another second-hand water tap. We've got a brand new thermostat housing on account of the corrosion and gasket, and we've got the more correct top radiator hose on account of the ribbed one that's fitted is incredibly stiff and it feels like it's actually going to split. So once we do that, we'll probably give the truck a bit of a tub, and then coming back tomorrow we will fit it up with some tail lights, and that's about it, and maybe some mud flaps if we've got enough time. Back in daylight hours, we've still got to fit our mud flaps. We've got them off the F350 rack. Got our brand new tail lights. I'm going to give them a service as well. Well, since the sun's getting real low and we're running out of time, we're going to have to skip that oil change and do it at home. We better just give them a tub and sort out the UVP. A little less scruffy, so time for that UVP. And there he is, after 11 years, time to get it going. So far so good. Does feel a little bit wobbly in terms of the wheels and tyres. Have been sitting for a long time. The brakes are working, however the booster's not really strong enough, so we've got to take it nice and easy. But other than that, I think we're doing okay, guys. You bloody beauty. Well, we made it halfway, but she's starting to get hot. Got ourselves a little bit of a leak, most likely from the water pump. Shouldn't be a big deal though. She's been driving fine so far, so let's top him up and keep going. Bloody ripper, look at that, we made it. Well, there we are, guys, we made it. It is still a good truck. Look, we had a few issues with the water leaking and overheating. We had to stop that one time. Other than that, sweet as, kept its cool. So it's only a minor issue to address. The brake booster, it is working, but what's happening is it's only coming on very mildly and gradually starts to get stronger. So it may well be something as simple as a vacuum hose. So no real stress there. If we've got to recondition it, then so be it. Other than that, just a little bit of wobbly tyres. You know, it's been sitting for 11 years. Not a big drama. It's a good old truck and we are going to start fixing it. So we're going to continue with this in between the Pontiac videos, but don't forget to tune in next week. We've got a rally video where I'm navigating in a Celica and things got a little awry. So make sure you join us. We'll see you next time. Cheers. Who is this baby-faced man now?
Your daddy. No, older brother. Younger brother.
That's a fucking lie. For fuck's sake. Plug a battery in and see if it at least turns over, eh? VD Ugly Duckling Taste the Secret.
Best.
1 year old CDs.
Best album. Ugly Duckling. Gotta check him out if you like old school hip hop.
Oh,
South
God.
Cali style. Do what you do best, Michael. Go
Fuck
on,
off.
do it. You can do it. There you go.
Unlucky. Fuck off out of my face, will ya?
GoPro, eat a dick.